All right, so now we're going to take our rates and our proportions, and we're going to actually use them in problems that have to do with real life and how we would use these in real life. So it's not just doing a bunch of crazy math anymore. Now we're practical uses for this. So 7.6, we're going to use rate, time, and distance. And those are a formula, and you might have been using them in science already. Anybody? Not yet? Okay. All right, so there is a special formula for rate, time, and distance. Okay, I wrote it really big so that you would remember it. Okay, so the rate, time, and distance formula, we need to know what it is. Okay, so our formula is distance, which is either going to be miles or feet, equals the rate, which will be usually miles per hour, times the time, and sometimes they might give us time in hours or seconds. Okay, we do shorten this sometimes to just D equals RT, so I'm just going to write that on top here. D, distance, equals rate times time. So if you ever see something that looks like this, you don't have to actually write out all the words. You can just write D equals R times T, and we use all capital letters for those. Okay? All right, so example 1. Here we go. So what's going to happen is they're either going to give you the rate and the time, and we need to find the distance, or they're going to give us the time and the distance, and we need to find the rate, or they're going to give us the distance and the rate, and we need to figure out the time. So we're always going to get two pieces of information and have to solve for the missing one. So for example 1, they give us R equals 60 miles per hour, and that comes in mph, and time equals 3 hours. Using the distance formula, I don't know what D is, and I'm going to plug in 60 for R, times 3 for T, and I guess 60 would be miles per hour, times 3 hours. So that's going to give me D equals, what's 60 times 3? 180. And what are our units going to be? If our rate is in terms of miles per hour and my time is in terms of hours, what's my distance going to be? Miles. Okay, our rate is miles per hour. So we're looking at miles here. So distance equals 180 miles. Number 2 is rate equals 45 miles per hour. T equals 1.5 hours. So let's plug it all in first. So I don't know what D is, so I'm going to say D equals, R comes first, 45 miles per hour, equals, or no, I'm sorry, not equals, times 1.5 hours. That's T. So in order to find D, I need to multiply 45 times 1.5. Will you guys do that right now? Okay, so we get, after we multiply, D equals 67.5 what? Miles. Good. So in order to know what units we're going to use, remember distance is always either going to be miles or feet. So we just have to look at what our rate is. Our rate is given to us in miles per hour this time. So we know that we're working with miles. Does that make sense? Sometimes they might give you feet per second. So then our distance is going to be in terms of feet. So we always go off of whatever the other units are. Okay? Example 3. Okay, D is 200 miles. And T is 4 hours. So I'm going to take both of these that I know, and I'm going to plug them into the formula. So D is 200 miles, so I'm going to write 200 miles for D. But distance equals rate times time, so it's going to be 200 miles equals, do we know what the rate is? No, so we're going to just leave it as R times, and what's time? 4 hours. Okay, so how would I solve for R here, Nikki? I divide 4, or both sides by 4, so that these guys cancel. And that's going to give me a rate of 200 divided by 4, 50 what? What is rate in terms of? We have miles on top and hours on bottom, so it's going to be miles per hour. Alright, so what should I do first for example 4? Rate is 40 miles per hour. T is 6 hours. Let me see. Brandon, what should I do first? I plug these into the formula, so what would it be? 40 miles per hour, and then what? Times 6 hours, and that's equal to what? To D. Good. Okay, so then I need to multiply these. What's 40 times 6? Anybody? Just 240. So D equals 240 what? Miles. Good. Who got that correct? Very nice, guys. Example 5. So now we're getting into word problems. So please do make sure that you write this down. Mike drove his car at 20 miles per hour for 2 hours. How far did Mike drive? Alright, so the first thing we want to do here is we need to decide what each thing is. So I have 2 pieces of information here. Mike drove his car 20 miles per hour. Is that distance, rate, or time? Miles per hour is rate. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm first going to say R equals 20 miles per hour. So I'm going to label it. And then I also know that he drove for 2 hours. What's that? That's time. So T equals 2 hours. So plugging that into the formula, D equals rate times time, so 20 miles per hour times time, which is 2 hours. So what was his distance? Distance was 40 miles. Okay, example 6, last one. The Waltons are traveling to Grandma's house for a vacation. It is a total of 520 miles. If Mr. Walton drives the legal speed limit of 65 miles per hour, how long will it take them to get there? Alright, in this word problem, what 2 pieces of information am I given? Jacob. The time and the distance. What is the distance? The distance is 520 miles. And what's the time? There is no time. What are we given, Jerry? The rate. Yeah, what's the rate? 65 miles per hour. We're trying to find the time. So rate is 65 miles per hour. So I need to plug that into the formula. So what would I get, Alana? What would I get? 520 miles equals 65 miles per hour times t. Very good. So times t. So all we do is replace the variables with the information we're given, and we should be left with one variable. Okay, so what am I going to do here? How do I solve for t, Matthew? Divide by? I divide both sides by 65 miles per hour. So those are going to cancel, right? And I would get t equals, what is 520 divided by 65? What did you guys get? 8? 8 what? Hours. Good. Okay, who got that correct? So before we are finished, can everybody tell me what the distance, rate, and time formula is? D equals R times T. Good.